What's up guys? So in this video I am breaking down Ecom Hub Summit, which was a recent event that just passed in Vancouver, Canada, and it was a great event for Amazon sellers, ecom business owners, or aspiring business owners. And in this video my goal is for those of you that weren't there to kind of recap and give you a lot of the value that I personally picked up and heard from people and all of that. So if you weren't there, you can still kind of, grow with us that were there. And if you were there, thank you to so many of you that said what's up. It was great getting to meet so many of you at an event like this. Like literally 50 or 100 people at least that I talked with that knew me. So thank you to those of you that you know who I'm talking to. And also I'll first say, if you are new to this channel, my name is Matt Loberstein. You should definitely subscribe and check out my past videos and videos to come. I have been selling on Amazon for several years at this point, and I'm sure if you get value from this video, there is much more in the past and the future that you will be getting value from as well. So please do subscribe. And lastly, and then we'll jump into the value, is that this is going to bounce around a little bit because when I was at the event, I was filming a lot of just like clips and what was going on, but this video is later, this is after the event, and I am now going to like break it down and actually do more talking. So Francis, my editor, is going to have a hell of a time stringing this together. So just keep in mind, it's probably gonna like bounce back and forth chronologically, like me talking here at home, this is afterwards, but then we're gonna interweave with actual footage from the event as well. So let's jump into the event.
LAX, please. At the airport, headed to Vancouver, Canada for Ecom Hub Summit. All right, landed in Vancouver. Didn't have cell service at first, but now it seems to be working. And yeah.
Day one, Ecom Hub Summit.
I don't think they're going to be talking positively about your brand. And oftentimes, you can relate this to an example, a real life example of, let's say we go to the grocery store, we buy 10 eggs, and we check out. Has a cashier ever ran after you and say, hey, do you want to buy 50 more of the same eggs? No, I don't want to do that. Wait, yeah. Do you want to buy 100 more of the same eggs? We'll never go back to that grocery store. So why is it different for online marketing? It's not.
It's perfect. A lot of people listen to the podcast at the gym, on the way to work, so on their commute, and they also really value what the people or what the host is actually talking about on the podcast because you relate to them.
And introducing the next speaker, we have Casey Goss from Viral Launch.
And so when we look at the different elements of a listing and try to understand how Amazon is distributing ranking power based on the content that is within your listing,
I'd like to introduce Max Kerwick to the stage.
So these are the questions that I want you to answer. I want you guys to pair off. I want you guys to actually put pen to paper and start building out this profile of, who is the ideal customer for.
All right, so it is the morning of day 2. Today is the day that I'm gonna be on the Amazon Sellers Q&A panel. So that's gonna be fun. Today's the day Stephen Black is speaking. I'm particularly excited for that one. I'm hoping to grab a clip with him at some point today. So yeah, it should be another good day today, so let's go.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, I recognize you.
What's up? How's it going?
Yeah. Good.
Kickstarter is the most effective way to launch your product and build your brand. We've seen it time and time again. A lot of companies have done this, but
Things that would be scalable beyond Amazon and something more scalable.
This guy is very intense, and his energy, he's just got such a big personality, very vocal in our space. So what I want to do now is introduce our next speaker. We have Mr. Stephen Black.
Okay, so let's just get moving then. All right, so here's the deal, guys. I use Amazon and I use Facebook very different.
He's here. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Kevin King to the stage.
Go over today if there's something that you disagree with or you think is bullshit or whatever. All you gotta do is go log into your Seller Central account and hit this button. contact seller support. And just remember what the answer you're going to get on the other end. There's going to be a guy, most likely in India, he may be in Costa Rica, or a few other places, but most likely in India, and he's going to be looking at computer screens kind of like this to give you the answer. So, you can believe him, what he tells you when he replies back to you on Amazon, or you can believe me. It's your decision. You make the decision.
All right, so I'm just going through my notes here from the event and just going to kind of break down and expand on all of the things that really jumped out to me. This is not going to be every single speaker or anything like that, but just some points that stood out to me personally. So first was a quick one from Nishal Kumar, and this was really interesting because I had just been talking to somebody about this exact tip maybe a week before I met somebody that managed this for a really large brand. And this was all about running ads for your e-commerce brand and product on podcasts.
It's perfect. A lot of people listen to podcasts at the gym, on the way to work, and they also really value or what the host is actually talking about on the podcast because you relate to them. They talk about topics you're interested in, so it's a very, very relatable, organic way to market.
So not necessarily about having a podcast for your own brand, which is a potentially great idea in its own, but this was about, you know, running those ad spots when you listen to podcasts and the host in the very beginning, you know, says, you know, they read an ad spot that either the company wrote or they just go on the fly. You know, Joe Rogan does this, Tim Ferriss does this, a ton of podcasts do this. Probably a podcast you listen to does this. And I think there's a few things about this that is really interesting. One is that podcasts are so intimate and so connected. Like it's weird because I do YouTube and I haven't really started an official podcast, though I want to, but I still think of myself, like I don't think of myself as a YouTuber, and I love podcasts. Like I just really do love podcasts. I think YouTube just made sense when I started, but podcasts are awesome. And I think one of the huge reasons that ads work so well in podcasts is because you are really developing a relationship with the person speaking, and it's right there in your ears, and it's not just seeing some silly ad like, you know, YouTube pre-roll ads where you're not paying attention. But, you know, hopefully if you have a relationship with, you know, maybe with a YouTuber, the actual person, and then they're telling you about something, you're gonna take that a lot differently than just some random ad that you're seeing while you're scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. So I really like those intimate, you know, personal ads, and that is kind of, in a sense, influencer marketing. But podcasts, there's something special about podcasts in particular. So thinking about that, and, you know, these ads that are basically just like a short what the product is, a little testimonial, and then typically you give something to the listener. So maybe the listener gets, you know, a 15% off or a 20% off code, and then the podcaster either gets paid per ad slot or they're getting some kind of affiliate kickback through a special code, or some mix of the two. But definitely something interesting and something to explore. Obviously a little bit further along, but I'm trying to start a brand in a space I'm more passionate about over the coming months or year, or we'll see time frame. And I think this would be really interesting for that. It's in like the health and biohacking niche, and I could totally see using this even as part of the launch strategy. Okay, next thing that really stuck out to me was from Casey Goss, and he is the founder of Viral Launch, which is one of the most popular tools for Amazon sellers. And this is a broader point, but there's a few things within here. And one just overarching thing was the way he talked about all of the data that they're gathering in terms of ranking, and realizing that, you know, a lot of times you could be ranking deeper for keywords and still be doing really well, which they're putting data to something that I've had a hunch about for years. And you can see me talking about this, you know, a year and a half ago on my YouTube channel. And it's that everyone's always been so obsessed with, like, you know, how do I get to page 1? And I need to get to page 1 or I'm not gonna have any sales. And they're just focused on one keyword, page 1, and they see that as the solution to all their problems. And Casey and Viral Launch, they've been putting a lot of literally data science behind understanding something that I've had this hunch about, which is that ranking is so much more than just that. It's showing up in frequently bought together, it's showing up in the cart suggestions, it's showing up on customers who also shopped and also viewed, and all these different places that Amazon gives you other than just page 1, one search term, and that's it. And even beyond that, obviously there's so many longer tail keywords. People aren't just searching in only the one search, you know. He had a lot of data to it. I don't remember some of the exact numbers right now, but let's say, you know, maybe your main search might only be 30 or 40% of the entire market. And yes, that's dominant, but there's still a huge market elsewhere. And I think it was like 40 to 50% of actual conversions lead to a product page, not from search, but from other product pages or cart or other places, other ways to kind of navigate through Amazon. So the way I've always taught this and described this is kind of like ranking through the web of Amazon. You know, you're showing up in all these places, and to me, that's what ranking is. It's not just about one keyword in page one, it's about showing up for a lot of keywords all over the place, you know, being ranked pretty good in a lot of them, and showing up all over the place. And to me, that is rank. So it was cool to kind of hear him and see that they're understanding a lot of data into this. And I don't necessarily understand the data or know as much as they know. So all I'll say here is you might want to dig into what Casey, Goss, and Viral Launch are putting out currently in terms of like what they're discovering right now. And he also got me thinking a lot more about the newer PPC updates that I had tried when they came out and kind of maybe not gone deep enough because I wasn't having great results. So I've since now circled back to a lot more product targeting testing, which is like the newer thing where you target other pages, which sounds like the most amazing idea, but in my first initial test right when it came out, it wasn't working that great for me. But I'm trying a lot of new campaigns in that now. And also, I'll admit something that I didn't even know. I don't know when Amazon slipped out this little update, but I hadn't known about it. Maybe you guys have known about this all along, so I could be way behind here, but I didn't realize that now with PPC you can see another report, another factor of reporting, which is not just like, you know, what keywords you're targeting on and all of that, but actually what ad placements is leading to, you know, what your impressions, your spend, your ACOS is, not just for keywords, not just for which type of campaign, but actually seeing the placement, you know, top of search, product pages, regular search. Like you can actually see the breakdown of that and then kind of adjust your bids based on how they're performing in different placements. As I said, maybe this is old news. I didn't realize it was there. So yeah, I was happy to realize that, or I just hadn't paid attention to it or something. I don't know.
So we're going to be talking about how do you build a brand around your most profitable customers. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Max Kerwick to the stage.
Next one was my friend Max Kerwick. And Max Kerwick is, I refer to him as the branding wizard. Like, I talk a lot about branding in the context of Amazon FBA and branding our private label brands. And the way that I think about it is like, if we as Amazon sellers can just sprinkle a little bit of this stuff, it puts us so far beyond the people that are just slapping crap together. And that's kind of all it takes in a weird way. Like, yes, obviously the more you do, the better it is, but like what I'm trying to get at here is that Max is doing this on like the world-class branding level. And so if you can just sprinkle a little bit of what he's doing onto Amazon, it sets you just leagues beyond the typical slap it together Amazon seller. And so he really broke down how to get a vision in your head of who your ideal customer is, like how your product is serving them, and this whole series of questions. And it really puts it into perspective and teaches you how to sell your own product. Like, what are you really helping them with? Who is this person? Like, what does a good day look like for them? What does a bad day look like for them? What are their struggles? What do they wear? What do they look like? Where do they live? Like, what are their other interests? And using that to dial in the way that you are marketing your product to them. So I definitely recommend diving into Max Kerwick. He works with Ryan Daniel Moran, and he co-runs their Brand Builder podcast. Definitely highly suggest that.
So where in the brand development process do people screw this up?
There are so many places. The first one is that they never get to know the customer, right? And if you don't know your customer, you can't answer any of these questions.
So next one I just want to mention was Tony Yu. And Tony Yu is the founder of Vessi Footwear. It's like a waterproof knit type of shoe. And it's super cool. And he's launched several $1 million Kickstarter campaigns, and that is a whole other niche like Amazon FBA. Really, we're just talking about products, right? But that Kickstarter is something that fascinates me and something that I've considered and I'm thinking about potentially for my next new brand. And he is really the master of it. So it's just inspiring to hear his story broken down by him. And I'll mention that Tom Wong, who, by the way, was one of the ones who threw this event, has a video on his channel with Tony Yu interview breaking it down. So highly suggest finding that video and diving into Tony Yu. If you're at all interested in Kickstarter, he is clearly the guy to listen to. Like, it's amazing what he's done. Next up was just a fun thing. I was on a panel, so not speaking on my own, but I was with about 5 or 6 other Amazon sellers and you know, kind of people, most of them with podcasts or YouTube channels or things like that. And just want to say thanks for having me on to that. And it was fun just to do some Q&A and all of that from stage. So that was a cool experience. And it's always great to share part of my journey, even though I totally feel like I'm still learning just as anyone else is. So, but yeah, it was fun. Next one, oh my God, I don't even know how I'm going to begin to explain this, so I'm not gonna do it justice, but next was Stephen Black, the man behind the curtain, the legend, who, geez, like, I mean, before I even try to explain, I would just say if you haven't seen my video with him in the past, I'll link that up and definitely go check that out now and come back or after this, but dude is a wizard, and check out his Facebook group, everything. Like, his talk was incredible. I will also say it is kind of like overwhelming. So I really need to dig through these notes and really, really, I mean, there's just so much there. There's so much going on in that guy's brain. He is truly phenomenal, and excited for everything he puts out. He puts out great content in his Facebook group and all that. So dive in. Anyways, what it was really just about is, I guess in a way, mainly Facebook ads, but it's really like his broader strategy of just like how he does everything cross-platform and how he does something that I had an idea of years ago and never executed on, which is having a store that has private label, print on demand, and drop shipping all mixed up in one store. That was an idea I had, never executed on. Steven, of course, did, and that's amazing. He also puts out a ridiculous amount of content for his brands, not just for his personal marketing stuff, but for his brands. He puts out 10 articles every 2 weeks and spins that into 48 pieces of content. He's just all across all these different platforms, which adds up to like 20 something traffic sources, all leading to his Amazon or his Shopify. And he also talked about really interesting strategies of using your past customers to get user-generated content to use as testimonials, run those in ads. It is just an endless world. And one tip that I really liked that he said was literally sending like personalized thank you messages, like videos from the CEO of his company to customers. Like, hey, I'm Matt and I'm the CEO of Matt's YouTube channel, and thank you so much for subscribing. So glad you're subscribed. And then it's like those customers are raving fans. Okay, so second to last, Zach Franklin totally blew my mind because he was talking about things that are, in my opinion, not obvious. Like, for example, with Facebook ads, it's complicated. We all know that it can work. We all know that there's a world there, right? We all know that if we were a Facebook ads master, like Stephen Black, that we could really crack into something. We all kind of know that, but what we don't know, or we don't think about very much, especially as Amazon sellers, is all of these other ad networks, not just Facebook. The first most obvious would be Google and AdWords, right? YouTube ads even. But he also talked about Bing ads. He also talked about something I had never even thought or considered, which is all those other obscure ad networks that like syndicate out to blogs. Like when you're on CNN.com or something and you see all those spammy looking ads, and there's so many types of ads across the internet. It's not just Facebook, and it's not just even Google, or Amazon is its own too, but really interesting to look at all the scraps he's able to pick up from all these different ad networks and finding ad networks where nobody is looking. Like, I mean, Facebook is great, and I know that there's a lot there, but it was interesting to hear this other perspective of all this other stuff that I wasn't even thinking about. So Zach Franklin, yeah, that was a pretty mind-blowing thought, and I definitely hope to crack into some of that. It's definitely weird to start, but again, you know, factor that in. Like, where else can you look? And it's interesting to take a wide approach versus deep approach. Look, like somebody, if you can figure out one ad strategy, like Steven with Facebook ads, I mean, you could be a multi-millionaire just from that, or just from Amazon in a lot of cases. But if you try all these different things and then you find something that works and then you go deep with it, the potential there is massive. Okay, last talk of the event, and I'll go quick on this one because I feel like the video is getting long, but this was Kevin King. And this was really refreshing for me because I'm always talking so much about like the offer, which came up a lot over the event. And you know, all these other things that are not just like the nitty gritty of how do you do your keywords and how do you set up the back end. And I've kind of been sick of that stuff, but he kind of refreshed me on it and just talked about a lot of new things, and there would be a lot of details. So I'm not gonna get into those here. I'm not really the expert too in all of these. Really, they're his tricks for the most part. So all I'll say there is definitely go dig into Kevin King, because he knows what he's doing with all of this like weird back end, like nitty gritty details on Amazon. And there's a lot there, and it kind of like reinvigorated me to get back into that world and not just think about marketing and product and stuff like that, but also think about like, you know, well, what are these little things that just affect the algorithm, affect Amazon's machine? So it was probably time for me to get reinvigorated on that, because I've been so far on the other end of the spectrum with this stuff. So it kind of like woke me back up to like, oh yeah, like, you know, there are these little things, like maybe if you do this one thing in the back end, it might increase your sales by a couple %, and those things really can add up. So I want to know, like, is this valuable when I share the sort of recap of an event? I did the same thing with the capitalism conference a few months ago. Let me know. I want to hear if this is worth doing. And also shout out to Francis, my editor. I'm sure this was maybe a mess. Hopefully it wasn't a mess to watch, and hopefully we're still in the same dimension and all of that. So thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button if you got this far. Hopefully I earned it from you, and subscribe if you have not already. Check out the description down below for all kinds of links to the free Facebook group, to my Zero to Brand program, A to Z, everything to get started and launch your brand off the back of Amazon and beyond, and all other kinds of stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for watching through this long video, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.
Pretty sweet. So I have to drive Tom's car, M5.
Does that make sense? You put it in front of them, even if
You can do with this, you know, ideal customer avatar or whatever.